Welcome to the Entrepreneur's MBA, bringing you lessons from real-life entrepreneurs they don't teach in business school. Here's your host, business coach and marketing strategist, Adam Kipnes.
Fantastic. Welcome to today's episode of the Entrepreneur's MBA, lessons you cannot learn in business school, from real entrepreneurs telling their stories that you can learn from. Today's guest, interesting story. Bob and I must have met in the past. We're not sure where, we're not sure when, but when he called me a bit ago, he was already in my phone and I was in his. And so we reconnected and started talking. And I thought his story and what he's learned in his years of business would be a fantastic opportunity for you all to learn from. So thanks to Bob Friedenthal for being here today. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I'll let Bob tell his story a little bit, but he started out like many of us do in the corporate world in accounting and worked his way up. But the entrepreneurial itch, that thing inside of him said, I need to start my own business. And he went into the world of computers and started a business that led to a marketing and internet-based company, which is what he's continued to grow. And now he's working with EdgeUp and mycity.com. And Bob, can you tell us just a little bit about that journey? And then we'll get into how you decided that it was time to go out on your own.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So I got into the internet in 1993 when there was only about 12 million people in the entire world on the internet. I was running my computer company. I went, wow, this is a place that I have to be. It's not a place that I want to be. It's a place, I just knew that the internet was going to explode. So I started my internet business. I did search engine optimization before that term existed. Started doing online agency type stuff and did that for about 14 years. And I had a board of directors. I was the majority shareholder, interestingly enough, in the company. But I went to my to my board members and I said, we got to move heavily into social media. This is over 10 years ago. And specifically, I wanted to go into LinkedIn because it's a business community and that's where the money is. So they didn't see it. And I went, maybe it's time that I just try something new. I left the company and started EdgeUp Network. And so I've been on the LinkedIn consulting, managing, doing the work, all that stuff for the last 10 years. So that's what led me into, I love online. I love technology. I was actually a director of accounting in a publicly traded company. Long story short is I didn't realize that I was good at selling and marketing. So all this stuff has evolved. And as we know now, social media is the number one activity in the internet. The problem with LinkedIn is about 90% of the people on LinkedIn have no idea what to do with it, but it's the right place to be because it's got the most professionals and the highest income level of any website on the planet. And I'll just, since I'm yakking away, I'll just juncture into the MyCity system that we created. And so I call mycity.com the life after LinkedIn, and many people call MyCity in our system the match.com of the business world because we work off of an algorithm that matches up people by location, vocation, rating, expertise, and recommendation. So it's at the click of a button that we do that, and it's doing very well. And now, of course, I've created this calling system, which Adam and I spoke briefly about. That I'm always looking for ways for my clients to get their best results, and emailing is somewhat of a sliding downhill process. It's just doesn't have the punch that it used to have. So, but we know that calling and texting is huge, and that's what this program is all about. We help people with a calling system, and if the people don't respond in the calls, then it's followed up by text. And we're getting about a 20 to 25% response rate to this system. So it's a pretty phenomenal system, and I'm loving it. So that's pretty much the character of what Bob Friedenthal and my company and systems are all about.
Wow. I mean, there was a lot there.
Yeah.
And definitely want to dig in a little bit, because you talked about not only having your own business, but having to leave a business that you had started and you were a big part of, because your business partners and your board of directors didn't follow you or follow your vision, which is a key part of the entrepreneurial journey, right? It's about having that vision and going after it with everything you've got. So let's just dig into some of the lessons from that period of your business, and then we'll talk more deeply about today's business. But what led you, one, to saying, all right, my business is big enough where I need a board of directors? And two, how did you go about picking those people, having the right people at the time to be worthy of being on your board of directors?
Well, that's a great question too. Well, the board of directors was made up of some investors that I felt was important to have on my board. One of them was a professor at UCLA teaching high tech. Another one was a very, very successful CPA that I knew very well. We had one of the largest CPA firms in Los Angeles. And gosh, I can't remember some of the other people that were on my board, but these two in particular, what I think was fascinating was you have to be a visionary to really see the future. And visionaries are the ones that kind of lead the path to where the future is going. And so neither one of these individuals were visionaries. They were great, great, great mechanics, but they didn't have the visionary aspect of who I am. And I think that's what led me in a different direction. I think that's really the key to it. You have to have that visionary mentality of where you think the world's going to be. Listen, I got into the computer industry when a 300 megabyte hard drive was the size of a washing machine, and it was $20,000. So I left a publicly traded company to go into the computer industry, and then the PC was just starting to come along. And I just had the vision that this is where I had to be. Then the internet, now social media. Social media, like I was saying, is the number one activity on the internet. Is that a place you want to market yourself? I think you'd be crazy if you don't, to be honest.
Right, that's so true. And when you talk about being a visionary, there's a lot of us out there that have ideas and that see a problem or see something in our own lives that we want to fix it, and we know that other people can benefit from it as well. So what were some of the things that really went through your mind or went through your thought process to say, I'm throwing everything I've got at this. I'm going to leave where I'm at. I'm going to leave the comfort, whether it's about when you were with the publicly traded company or when you had to resign from your old company and leave that board of directors. What was the thing that finally pushed you over and said, Bob, you're doing this and you're taking the leap?
Well, that's another great comment. I always talk about in life that you dip your toe in the water, and if you like the temperature, you take the leap. So I'm pretty much one of these guys that likes to try things, and if you find success in it, you blow it up. And I think that's really an important aspect of people living their lives, living their business careers. One of the biggest problems that I experience with most salespeople is they all become a lot of Me Too's. They do the same thing that their competition does. And I've said for 30 plus years in training salespeople, you don't want to sound like your competition. And that's what led me along the path of helping, not selling. And if I could juncture off, tell you a little story. What got me into the calling system and all that stuff is just trying to create solutions for clients. So it's always you always have to create a solution, and you have to execute on it. And I think that's an important aspect of running a successful business, is to come up with the ideas, try to execute on them. If the execution is good, you just start putting more energy into that. And that's exactly what I'm doing today. I guess I've done that 35 years.
So you figured out a way to help people, and the more people you helped, the faster your expansion and the faster your growth.
Yeah. And well, most of us are in one form of sales or another. If you own a company, if you don't know how to sell, you got a problem. So it's learning how to teach even your sales reps not only about what the key elements about your product are, but so many people are in, Me Too type products like real estate, mortgage, insurance. And I just experienced that, like a mortgage person will say, oh, we can get the loan closed in 14 days. And this is one of their selling pitches that they use, but their competition's saying the same thing. So what's going to make you different? What's going to make you stand out? So I always talk about helping, not selling. And this is leading into about 3.5 years ago, I went to watch a guy named Ken Cragen who did We Are the World some 35 years ago with Michael Jackson, Kenny Rogers. He has a system that he calls the Power of Three. Sales coaches will tell you that it takes 3 to 5 to 7 times plus to take you from prospect to relationship to sale or referral partner. Nobody has time for that today. You don't have the time for 7 touches. I used to call my system the 3-touch system, or the 5-touch system. But again, I was focusing on the fact that people have very limited time. So I mimicked what Ken Cragen said, and I changed my system to the 3-touch system. And it's about, if you touch people 3 times in a short sequence, like a 30-day period, you can rapidly take them from prospect to relationship to sale or referral partner. Okay? So I had software written that resides inside of mycity.com, and it's a free product, and it's called the 3-touch. And you'll never imagine who's the biggest user of this product. Me. So I actually, I know where I'm faulty. So here's a short. On Monday, I was at a funeral. I reach into my black suit, which I never wear anymore, but I wore it to a funeral. And I reach in my jacket pocket, and there's about 20, 25 business cards sitting in there. Okay, shining example, what happens? We go to these meetings, we meet tons of people, and then we don't do any follow through. And some of the people that you meet, you just really believe, oh, I should really follow up with this person. Great person, like you and I. That's exactly what happened. And I put you down in my 3-touch system. This is a guy that I want to follow up with. So we've already had one discussion. We're now doing this podcast, which thank you very much. But it's always about getting it to the next level. So even though we didn't meet in person, we've created enough of a relationship where my next step is to introduce you through the My City system to somebody that you want to meet. But we haven't had that discussion of exactly, I don't think, who you want to meet, but I suspect it's business people. It's business.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. I mean, mine is obviously about finding clients and growing, but it's about having conversations like this. What can I learn from people like you that have had success in business and have had some bumps and bruises along the way, and how can I bring that to my listeners and to my clients?
And as I was just thinking about it, I just thought of somebody that I'm going to introduce you to. He's a CPA in Phoenix.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Just wrote it down. So the system will also make suggestions, and I think I could fill in enough of the information about you with the rating system that it's also going to create some other suggestions for me. And I'm going to, I won't do it today because people are not going to pay attention, but I will do it tomorrow. And an email goes out to you, to the individual that I would like you to meet, and from the My City system. So
that's so cool, and that's an example of not only what your system does, but just the power of conversations and the power of talking to more people and talking to different people in your niche, because who knows who they can introduce you to.
Right. And we all have the ability, but that's where, it's like the BNIs and the tips and the teams of the world. BNI's expression is givers gain. Well, you know what? When you give referrals, people pay attention to you. I call it introduction / referrals but we want to all build a good circle of influence too. Not only do we want a direct order where somebody calls up and places an order with you based on a referral, which is the easiest form of selling that you could ever imagine, but it's also building a strong circle of influence where you partner to have individuals referring people back and forth to each other. That's a powerful community. And that's why the BNIs and the tips and the teams of the world exist out there, networking groups.
Right. And you just touched on a great word, and that's community. Is referrals are great. Introductions are better. I think you mentioned that. But when you begin to build your own community versus a referral network or versus just going to events, and you start to have your own tribe, your own community, then you succeed and everyone around you succeeds, and it builds on itself. And it's a great way to think differently about networking.
Right.
Is building your community versus networking.
And, I think most business people will tell you that and understand that they have to build more relationships to increase their sales, because 70 to 90% of all their business comes from referral in most or many, I'll say many situations. I probably should say most.
I would agree with most. Even if you're a restaurant, you could get people that drive by, but it's coming from somebody's recommendation or somebody's referral, whether it's a friend, family member, or even if it's Yelp. That's still a referral from Yelp to you because of the star ratings and the advertising through there.
Right.
So I don't think people give enough credit to what referrals and introductions really mean, even in the larger sense.
Right. Well, going back to the dipping the toe in the water, you've got to constantly be doing that to look for solutions. And once you find that solution, your business starts to skyrocket. And that's exactly this calling system that I created with my clients. They're getting no responses from LinkedIn. My system works off of LinkedIn. And what we do is we upload people's LinkedIn connections, into My City, and then we start researching phone numbers, and we set up the whole system to make the calling. So in September of last year, this is an idea that I came up with. but I was making the calls for my clients. I've always had this philosophy. You want to do as much as you can for your clients so they can work on just pure selling. Well, it exploded on me. I got so buried. I talked to my business coach and I said, there's something wrong with this picture. One is I'm absolutely slammed. I can't handle any more business. But number two, these are my clients' relationships from LinkedIn. We need them to make the call, not me. And so I converted it starting in January, and it's working. It's definitely working. Now, there's still going to be improvement, as I put it, along the way, because I'm always searching out how to make that even more effective. But it's working.
That's great. And you mentioned your business coach. Obviously, that's something near and dear to me because that's what I do for my clients.
Right.
But you had a problem in your business and you needed, I'm assuming you were sort of getting stuck in what you were doing and you needed a third party opinion of that coach in order to help you see it differently. How did that come into your life? Like, when did you hire your first coach, or when did you determine I need someone to bounce these ideas off of?
Well, that's why you have a board of directors, that in companies. You always have to have somebody. You can't come up with an idea. You need to get feedback from that idea. And it's always about, okay, how do we do this? How do we execute on it? And how do we measure the results of what we executed on? And that's why you have a business coach, because this is your skill, right? Isn't that your skill? Is to observe, everybody's business, everybody is a little bit different. And it's that instinct, and that it's not just instinct, it's your training that you've acquired. And especially if you're working with most business coaches, do as many clients as they can, and they're getting feedback and ideas all the time. And I think that's the beauty of a good business coach, is that they can take situations, kind of put that in their back of their mind, and then when issues come up with a client, all of a sudden that pops to the forefront, and you have a much better observation of what creates success, plus your training. True?
True. Very true.
Yeah, you guys are vital, and most people don't understand it.
Well, I appreciate that. And some of the transformations I've been able to see in my clients, not only from what I've helped them with or what we've done together, but just getting over a hump that has been there for a long time. Just having a third person to talk to really is transformational for businesses, my own as well. Well, one more thing I wanted to ask before we wrap up is, in business, especially when you're a small business or a sole practitioner, there's sales and marketing, and there's operations, and there's client follow-up and client service, and the day-to-day. And in your business, it's obviously very heavily technology-based.
Right.
How do you do all of those things? Because just the technology side of your business could be somebody's full-time job, and they could get really wrapped up in that and not make sales. So how do you balance it all?
Well, it's interesting. I like what you're asking, because in any business, you grow and then you need to fix, and grow and need to fix, and grow and need to fix. So if you're not doing that, then you're going to get stuck and you're going to get maxed out. So what I do is I create so many of my solutions through programming. And I just installed a custom management system in my company. And now this is such a great description of what typically happens with people. Okay, so I installed this management system. Now it's getting my employees to follow the management system. So now what I'm doing is I am tracking and this is the good part of any kind of management system, it helps you track what's going on. And so there's always the next level that you have to get to. That's where it's got to go. I use technology because that's where the world is today. It's using a technological base to help you evaluate what's happening in your business. Right?
Yep. Interesting.
So did I answer the question or did I?
No, I think you did. It's utilizing technology, having the right people in place in order to do it, and creating a system to allow them to do their best work for the benefit of the company, right? I think a lot of us forget about, we either overmanage or undermanage our employees because we don't really have a good system for them to follow. So we feel like we need to help them every step of the way.
Yeah. Well, this morning I sent a note to one of my employees that is not using the management system. After every action he creates, he needs to set up the next process for the person in line. So we're tracking all the way through the execution for our clients. And he has not been doing that. So I told him last week I was going to fine him. I was going to do something. I was going to reduce his hours, whatever I'm going to do to, I hate to use the word punish, but sometimes you have to put your foot down. And it's happening in this situation. And I just sent a note to him this morning saying, you don't start executing on this. I don't want to remind you every time I'm reviewing a file that you didn't do the next step. So that's the tough part about being in business, is to say the best word in the English dictionary is the word no, not acceptable. Right?
And it's your business, and you need it to work in a certain way for the benefit of your clients. And you know what? I was at an event with a gentleman named Kevin Eastman. He was an assistant basketball coach for the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Clippers. And one of the things that he said was, in our world, we say the truth hurts. And in his world, he says the truth helps. Because if you don't tell people the truth, how can they get better? And that's exactly what you're talking about with this employee. If you don't tell him, no, you're doing it wrong, he can't improve. So it may hurt his feelings, but it helps him in the long run.
Yeah. And as they see the company becoming more successful, they can take pride in the fact that they're doing what's needed to be done. So yeah, absolutely. The truth helps.
Yeah, I love that one. So to wrap up, you've given a lot of great nuggets and things that have helped you in your business. But what's the one either lesson that has helped you the most, or the one thing that you learned in business, good or bad, that was really transformational for you?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. I don't know how to answer that. It's just, you've got to step outside of yourself and look back in, I guess, is really people that don't evaluate themselves. We do things habitually. And once you get out of doing the things habitually that are wrong, then if you don't do that, you're going to suffer. And again, it goes right back to the coaching. You got somebody that's there to help you and to give you that observation. But I could tell you things that my 3-touch program that I just did, that was aimed at me fixing the things that I need to be doing. So you've got to take that step outside. You got to recognize, and again, it goes right back to the truth helps. You got to recognize where your weaknesses are and fix them.
That's awesome. Well, Bob, I appreciate you being here. To all the listeners, definitely go to mycity.com in order to see his system, be part of the community, And also Bob's a big LinkedIn person. So Bob Friedenthal on LinkedIn, definitely connect with him there. Thanks for being here, Bob. And thanks to everyone for listening to the Entrepreneurs MBA podcast. Look forward to talking with you next time.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Entrepreneurs MBA. Download Adam's free book, How to Make More Money in Your Business, at www.freebookfromadam.com.